Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Ask Ron. Our top question today comes from Howard on the MD forums. What's up, Howard? Howard titles this Reasons to Compete in a National Contest. Obviously, the pro card is a big draw, but it goes deeper. I'm in the crowd that wants to be on stage with the best guys in my age/division. At my age, the pro card is pretty useless. So instead of the topic here being reasons to compete in a national contest, I'm going to make it a question. Should you compete in a national contest? I think that's the deeper issue here. So we have a ton of people now that are in so many divisions. We have, it all started with men's and women's bodybuilding, but now we have men's physique, women's physique, fitness, figure, bikini. Am I forgetting anything? Classic. A lot of divisions. And with all these new divisions, we have a lot more participants. That's a great thing. It keeps the contest going. A lot of times promoters had to stop promoting contests. There used to be a lot of contests that are no longer in existence, and guys who used to promote shows who stopped doing it because they couldn't make any money at it. And what a lot of the fans don't realize is that it is a business and they do need to turn a profit. A lot of people thought they should give away these $1,000 trophies and all this stuff, and it's a business, people. It's a business. It's a for-profit. But anyway, so a lot of people want to compete now because it's the idea, I guess, is very enticing or glamorous of going up on stage, getting a trophy, getting a title, and the prevailing attitude among so many of the people who are getting into it is that they should be a pro. They'll put hashtags on all the pictures, going pro or quest for a pro card. And I'm not going to shoot down anyone's goals, dreams, aspirations. That's not what I'm here for. I just want to be real with people. Not everyone can be a pro, whether it's bodybuilding, physique, figure, fitness, classic. Professional status is meant to be elite, something special. It means you're much, much better at this than most people who do it, which is why of all the kids, all the young boys in the world, or I should say mostly America, that start playing football in Pop Warner and play in high school, millions of boys, how many of them make it to the NFL? I know the percentage is tiny. It's like 1% of 1%. It's something minuscule, infinitesimal. Same thing with basketball. Of all the young boys and girls who are out there on basketball courts playing on local leagues in their high schools, how many of them are going to go on to become professional basketball players? Very few, right? It's only the very best of the best that are going to be good enough to advance to that level and get paid to do this, to do what they love. Same thing with bodybuilding and these other divisions. It's meant to be an elite thing, a status that you achieve because you're the best, you're different, you stand out, you're exceptional. So not everyone who wants to be a pro can be a pro just because you compete. It seems to me a lot of these people getting into it now have the idea, this sense of entitlement that everyone deserves to be a pro. And it's not even about who works the hardest. It's not the people who work the hardest who become professionals. I'm sorry to break that to you guys. It's the people with the best genetics who work the hardest and smartest and come in, with that perfect package that the judges are looking for. Those are the people that turn pro. So the national level is supposed to be where the judges, sort those people out, all the people that aspire to be pros, and they pick the few among them that are worthy of it, that have a chance, that would be able to stand on a pro stage and not look out of place. So not everyone turning pro is going to be a good pro. Of course not. I'd say it's actually a pretty small percentage of the people who earn their pro cards today, and it's because there are so many more pro cards being awarded. So that means a fewer amount of these people turning pro now are going to make any impact as a professional. That's just the way it is when you have so many pros. It's like anything else. Again, the best of the best. The best will rise to the top, and the other ones, they're not going to. So should you aspire to be a pro? I would say if you've been doing this a while, you should have a sense of where you fit in, and if you have the genetics for it. First thing I would do for anyone thinking about competing at a national level show is to look at contest photos of at least a couple national shows. So, you can go to musculardevelopment.com, contest coverage. We covered the nationals last year, the North American, the USA. Go through our photo galleries. Look at the class that you're going to be in, probably. So if you're a bodybuilder and you'd probably be a light heavyweight, I would say look at the top 5 light heavyweights. Look at them and how do they compare to you? Do you have a similar level of physique? Do you have a similar level of size, similar type of shape, proportions? Can you get into that condition? Have you gotten into that condition before? Can you? Which, I think condition is something everyone can get if they work hard enough. But what I'm getting at is you should get a sense by looking at the top 5 at shows like the Nationals and the USA and the North American, whether you belong on that national stage, whether you're at that level yet. And if you can't objectively look at yourself and decide that, evaluate that for yourself, ask someone, find someone who can. People send me pictures all the time and say, what do you think I should do? Am I ready? And I'll tell them, your legs are terrible. You need to bring your legs up first, or you need to get some more width to your upper body. You need some more upper back and shoulder width because you're narrow. Or, I'll tell them what they need to work on. And in some cases, I'm brutally honest, and I'll tell them I don't think you have the genetics for it, because first off, you have to have a certain bone structure. You're never going to, if you have super long or super short limbs, super long or super short torso, certain proportions like that, you're never going to look that good. Unfortunately, it's like the framework to a house. Your bone structure is something you're born with. It's nothing you can do to change it. So that's the first and foremost thing. Then you look at the muscle bellies, the length of the muscles. If all the muscles are really short, if everyone's got high calves, real short biceps, short triceps, if all the muscles are short, there's not a lot of potential for growth there. There's just not enough muscle cells. And the shape, you got to look at the shape. I mean, people who have that top national level / pro caliber physique, and people who are the top at the national level, they're pro caliber. They should be. Otherwise, why are they there? Like I said, these national shows are pro qualifiers. The reason they exist is to weed out the best. Bring them, they'll rise to the top. They'll advance onto the pros from these national shows, these pro qualifiers. So do you have that type of shape to your muscles? It's a pretty look. Like these strong men. I'm just giving a weird example here. Strong men like, Game of Thrones guy. What's his name? Hapthor. Massive man, huge muscles, dieted down and put him in posing trunks. Would that be a pretty physique? No. Would it win in bodybuilding? No. He's built for, power, strength. He's got a massive core, huge joints, huge wrists, thick elbows, knees. He's a massive giant of a man, but he would not look good by bodybuilding standards, even if we dieted him down to like 4% body fat. He'd look very, very impressive. He's a huge man with a lot of muscle mass. But the standards we're looking for, shape, proportion, symmetry, for that you need wide shoulders and back, narrow hips, flaring thighs, the X frame. That's the basic shape of every champion in any division, really. Classic is looking for the X frame. Men's physique is looking for the X frame. Women's physique, figure, even bikini to an extent. You don't see anybody with really narrow shoulders and really wide hips doing well in any type of physique competition in any division. They just don't have the right framework for it, their bone structure. So let's get back to, say that you do have it, but you don't have the mass yet, or you still need some work on bringing up certain body parts. Take care of that and do well at the regional level first. I see so many people who want to jump right into these pro qualifiers, and they haven't even competed yet. Or they've competed at the regional level, and they didn't do very well. Say they took like 5th out of 5, or 7th out of 7. They didn't do very well, but for some reason they think it's going to be easier at the national level. Let me tell you, I've been to the national level myself a few times now. It is a different ball game, because you have, at every regional show, there's only a few people who are really good enough to go on and do well at the national level. And when you get to the nationals, the USA, the North American, the Masters Nationals, the Team Universe, everybody there, for the most part, is like the stud or studette of their area. They've won shows. They place high in many shows. People look up to them in that area. It's like, wow, this guy, this girl, wow. They can't even imagine anybody beating them. That's how good they are to the people around them. But you get them all together, you get hundreds and hundreds of them together, and obviously now judges have the work cut out for them. You got 30 light heavies up in front of you. They've all won contests. A lot of them have already been top 5 at the national level, 1, 2, 3, many times, some of them. And only the very best are going to win. And the rest, you might have a guy who's almost last place who, again, at the regional level, he was a stud. Nobody could touch him in his area. He beat everybody around him with ease that entered the shows. But now he's up against other people who have great genetics and work hard. What happens? Obviously, only the very best are going to rise to the top again. So the pro card, yeah, let's get to the pro card. That is an attraction for a lot of people. And there's a lot more opportunities now than there ever were before in years past to turn pro. They give out, 2 pro cards for every class at the USA now, where when I first started going to the USA, attending and watching and covering it in the 90s, 1 man and 1 woman turned pro at the USA every year. 1. The overall champion. That was it. And then eventually they said, let's give it to the overall winner plus the next guy in the overall overall pose down, and then it became 3, and then it became every class, and on and on. Nationals used to be 1 per every class winner, which enticed a lot of people to do it because all they had to do was win their class, turn pro. Now it's top 2 in every class. And in some divisions like figure and bikini, they get pro cards even at the junior USA and junior nationals. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities to turn pro. Tons and tons now. But, like I said, just because you can turn pro doesn't mean you're going to make a good pro. You have to be realistic about that. You look at the pro shows and where would you fit in on that stage? I think anyone who aspires to be a pro in any division, I think they should attend in person at least a couple pro shows, get an idea of what they're going to be up against, and maybe they'll get an idea of what do they need to work on to improve so they can get to that level. Or in some cases, you might realize, I'm never going to look like that. Or maybe I'm not willing to do what it takes to look like that. That's a whole other story. Obviously, we're talking about gear and stuff. So, Howard was really talking about the national level for masters. And that's, I've done Team U now. I did it in 2009 in the Open, 2011, yeah, in the Open. And I did masters, 35 plus. I forget what it was. Then I did in 2013, I only did masters. So I've been to the national level 3 times, which isn't a whole lot. Some people have been there 10, 12, 15 times. But it gave me a good sense. The masters at these national levels, it's a lot of guys who've been competing for a very, very long time. Guys who are my age. I'm 48. So if I did a show this summer, I'd be up against guys a lot of them have been competing for 20 or even 30 years. That's how long, I did my first show in 1989. So that was 29 years ago. Yeah, it was in March 89. So it's been 29 years since my first show. Wow. Pro card is a good enticement, but as a master, for me, if I turn pro, and I do aspire to turn pro, and not because I think I'd make a great pro. I don't think I'd make a great pro, and I don't think I'm that good of a bodybuilder. I know I'm realistic, and I know, but I have seen some cases where guys who are no better than me are walking around with pro cards. So I've been doing it this long. I put so much hard work, so many years, so much effort, so much money, so much sacrifice. Yeah, I do want to turn pro just for the heck of it. And I would do like a Masters Pro show. I would not be foolish enough to think I could do any damage at all in an open pro show or even a decent 212 pro show. I would have to find one where there were very few guys, and I would have to come in shredded to stand a chance of making top 5. And there have been some pro shows like with 5 guys or less in them, smaller shows. So it's not impossible. You just have to, and then I hear a lot of guys are going to argue with me. They say, why would you do that? That's ridiculous. You're not that good. Why would you waste your time and effort? I probably wouldn't. So Howard's main point was that he wants to compete with the best, which is why he would do that. He would just do a national show again. He wouldn't do a regional show. And that's how I feel. I think I would obviously have a better chance of doing well, even as a master, at the regional level than I would at the national level, because you don't have as many excellent competitors, as many people who have won shows that you're up against. So your chances are, obviously, it's a two different levels. But because I've been top five twice now at the national level, I do feel like I should only do the national level. And that's all I would want. If I'm going to go through all that time, effort, expense, sacrifice, all that to get ready for a show, I wouldn't do it for a regional show. I'm sorry. I've done a lot of regional shows, paid my dues there, and I've proven that I'm good enough to be on a national stage and do well. As long as I show up in great condition, that's my only chance. I have to, because I know, again, I'm not the biggest guy. I don't have the prettiest shape, but I can get shredded, and I do have pretty good balance. So there. What was the other part of that question, Howard? Stage with the best guys, my age division. I guess that's it. So, I don't think everyone should just do a national show, for even if you're qualified, for the experience, because it's a lot of time and effort. And when you go to the national shows, it's very expensive. You have to be there for a minimum of 3 days, more like 4 days most of the time. You have to register and weigh in on one day, and then there's judging, and then there's finals. You're usually there for a good 3 or 4 days, and it's depending on where you are. USA's in Vegas, Masters Nationals is in Pittsburgh, North America's in Pittsburgh, Nationals is usually down in Florida. So you're out of town for a few days. You're paying for the airfare, the hotel. You got to either bring all your food with you somehow, or you're gonna have to buy a lot of food down there. It adds up. Entry fees are a few $100 for national level shows. So I mean, not everybody should do it. Not everyone is at that level yet, and you need to be realistic with yourself. Figure out if you are at that level. And if you do go to the national level, if you're qualified and everything, do one thing, is show up in shape. You have to be in shape. I don't care how great your size and shape is. If you're not extremely lean, I guarantee you're not going to do well, because national level, unless you're like have the most beautiful physique in the world, you can be a little off and probably still do pretty well. But for everybody else, you better be shredded, or you're not even going to get a look. I mean, the very last contest I did was Team Universe Masters Nationals 2013. I did over 40 heavyweights, and I got 14th place, and I had striated glutes. I was shredded. That wasn't even enough to get me any higher than that. There was like 32 guys in the class. So I was middle of the pack with striated glutes. And I think there were guys that I beat that were as good condition as me. It was a hell of a class. And that's what I'm getting at. When you get to these national level shows, you have no idea how many really good guys there are until you get there and you look around like, wow. So I hope I answered that. I'm going to go on to another question I got from bodybuilder named Joe Toth. Joe's out of Ohio. He's a great natural competitor. He was 4th place at the Team Universe in the open middleweights one year. He had a couple quick questions for me on Facebook. One of them was, what contest are you most proud of? So I would go with two. It was the last 2 times I did Team Universe. I did it in 2011 as an open heavyweight. I was 208 pounds I weighed in at about 5'8". I think I was still 5'8". I've shrunk below 5'8" since. I took, in that class, 2nd out of 9 in the open heavyweights. And, that's still, I know I didn't win or anything, but I mean, I lost to a guy named Dave Coleman, who's really good. But I beat some guys who were really good, and I basically beat them on condition. I was in better condition, better balance. Like, some of them killed me on arms and whatever, but they didn't have the legs. I mean, I was proud because I beat guys who I knew a few years before that I never would have been able to beat. But I had worked really hard and brought up weak points enough and gotten in shape to the point where I was able to beat a lot of those guys. And I take pride in being able to beat guys who are better than me, because I know I'm not that good. So when I'm able to beat bodybuilders who I can outright say with no problem, they are better bodybuilders than me, they have better physiques, because I worked harder and got into better condition. It's a point of pride with me, because that's, I was never supposed to beat them. Other show was the 2013 Team U. So that year, the Masters over 40 was just one big group. It was 23 of us in the over 40 category, and the weights ranged all over the place. You had guys as light as like in the 150s, and the guy who won, his name escapes me at the minute, but he was 280 pounds, okay? Wow. He was 280 and he won. He was in decent shape. He wasn't shredded, but he was a big dude with great shape. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, guy. I'm sorry. I feel like an idiot. But proud of that, because I got into really good condition. I wasn't quite as tight. I was 204 at that show. Good balance of condition, and I still had a little bit of fullness left. 2 weeks later at Masters Nationals, it was only 3 pounds difference. I tightened up my hams and glutes, but in the process, I lost some muscle, took a diuretic, I flattened out. I don't think it would have made a tremendous difference anyway, honestly. I was 14th, and it might have brought me up to like 9th or 10th if I'd been a little fuller. That's all. It was a great class. But I was proud of that class because, again, Malcolm Marshall, I'm sorry, the winner of the 2013 over 40 Team U was Malcolm Marshall. Mike Yablon was second in my division, in my class. And he won overall, I think it was over 35 or over 40 at Masters. Over 35? He won that 2 weeks later, so he turned pro. So two out of the five guys, I was fifth place. Two out of the top five were pros within that month of July 2013. And again, I beat a lot of guys there that I really had no business beating, but I beat them on condition. I'm going to give you one example because there's a guy named Earl White. I'm not pointing you out. I hope Earl doesn't get mad about this. Earl is somebody I should never, ever have a prayer of beating, ever, okay? Massive guy, massive, huge back, huge shoulders, huge arms, literally looks like he's twice my size. He is twice my size. Earl was not in shape. I was in shape. And again, like I said, you better be in shape at these national shows because a lot of other guys, they're going to be shredded, so you better be. I beat a few other guys in that class that were just Derek Upshaw, who came back a year later, bigger and better, and just walloped everybody, won the overall. A few people that I really had no business beating, but I was on my game that weekend, that day. So those are the shows I'm proudest of. Will you ever compete again? Probably. When? I keep saying 2020 because I'll turn 50 in September of next year, 2019, and that would enable me to do the over 50 in all those shows. I could pick any of those. I could do Team U, I could do North American Masters, do Masters Nationals over 50, and I would have a better chance. And again, I get lambasted. Some people say, well, that means you admit you suck. I'm realistic. I know how good I am. I know how good I'm not. Over 50, they're no joke, but they're not as good as the over 40 guys. As you get older, the body changes. A lot of these guys lose their legs. Some of them they're not able to get as lean anymore. That's some guys. Then you have other guys who look freaking fantastic for over 50. I'm not saying I have a guaranteed win by any means. It would still be a real struggle, very much a struggle for me to be good enough to win. And, the only thing that gives me pause as to whether I compete again is things like the job I have now as the online editor and the senior editor of Muscular Development, the website and the magazine. It's not that I work crazy, crazy hours. I don't really. I could get up and do the AM card. I could do all that, the training and the eating and stuff. But covering the shows, for me to go to every show, which I have to now, basically, I'm pretty much the only guy left to do the play-by-plays on site. So I have to go to these shows, the Arnold, the New York Pro, the Toronto Pro, the USA, the North American, the Tampa Pro, the Nationals, maybe a few other shows. On those weekends, when I'm out of town, anywhere from 3 to 4, an average like 3 days, I'm usually gone. 3 or 4 days, 4 days at the most. But I'm in airports. I couldn't get all the meals in. I would miss meals. And like I said, I'm not the greatest bodybuilder. I have to be on my game. I can't afford to slack in any way. My workouts have to be on point. My cardio, my meals, my rest, everything has to be perfect for me to look my best. And my best is the only way I have a chance. Because some of these other guys have way better genetics than I do. So there. Just to give you an example, USA, what a day of contest coverage is like. At the USA last July, I'm sitting in the press pit doing the play-by-play. There was one day when the judging started at like 9 in the morning. I think it went until, yeah, it did. We had a little break, but then I believe it went to almost 10 o'clock at night because there's so many people. We're going through like 1,000 people or more, so many divisions, and it's just one after another. If I get 3 meals on that day, I'm lucky. I have shakes. I have bars with me. I have nuts and stuff like that. But I can't be sitting there eating a meal out of Tupperware while I'm doing the play-by-play, trying to take pictures and comment on all these people. Can't do it. Wouldn't want to try it. I would do it would make my job, it would impact my job. I wouldn't be doing my job right, put it that way. I'd miss people. I wouldn't get as many pictures up because, oh, it's time to eat. Oh, no, the light heavies are going on now. You can't eat now. And after light heavies, the heavies are going on. Then the super heavies are going on. Or North American, the Masters was crazy because they did Masters for every weight class of every age division. So over 35, bantam, lightweight, middleweight, welterweight, light heavyweight, heavyweight, super heavyweight, lightweight. I'm sorry. So for every age division, so over 35, over 40, over 50, over 60. I think there was only one over 70 guy, but I think you see what I'm getting at. It's you can't get out. I can't get up from my seat. I can't leave. I can't even drink a lot of liquid because then I'd have to go to the bathroom more and I might miss people. I can't miss people. So doing this job. And another thing is, I'll be blunt, very blunt with you. It's very expensive to compete as a bodybuilder now. The things, and I'm not blaming anybody. It's not anybody's fault per se. The look that the physiques have now requires a certain degree of quote unquote use. You have to use certain things that are very expensive. Okay. It's not the judge's fault. It's not the promoter's fault. It's not the NPC's fault. This is just where we're at in 2018. This is where it's evolved to. Once people start using, compound A, everyone else has to get it and use it. Once everyone's using this, it's on and on. Once things are being used by everybody, then everybody has to use them, or else that's it. So my son is starting college in September. I don't want him to be burdened with tons and tons of student loan debt that he's going to have to repay, and it's going to take him until he's 40 years old. I don't want that. I'm going to help him out as much as I possibly can to minimize that for him. He'll work and everything, but I'm not going to prioritize my own bodybuilding and me competing again for something like that so my son has to go into debt to pay for his college. And again, I'm not trying to paint a negative portrait, and I'm not blaming anybody. It is what it is. Nobody's forcing anybody to compete. If I want to compete and I want to look the way the top guys look, I would have to do what the top guys are doing, and it's going to cost a certain amount. And I've never done that. I've never spent that amount of money. I've never done certain things that are being done now. I can't go into more detail because I'll get in big trouble for it. Some people are going to be very upset that I don't want to paint this portrait of the sport as that. Like I said, nobody's forcing anyone to do anything, and even competing. Competing is a luxury. It's a privilege. And people say, "Do you miss it?" I absolutely miss it. I love competing. I loved it. Why do you think I did it? I did about 30 shows over the course of from '89 to 2013. I loved it. I loved the process of dieting and getting lean. I got hungry and cranky and everything and tired, but I loved changing my body over the course of the weeks leading up to the show, and the challenge of peaking perfectly. I really enjoyed that. And I enjoyed the actual competition itself because, I was never very good at sports as a kid. I wrestled in high school a little bit, but I had that competitive edge, but I was just horrible at everything. I was horrible at baseball, football. Anything I tried, I sucked. I just sucked at. I had no hand-eye coordination, no agility. But bodybuilding was something I found I could do okay in, and I've done okay. I've won some classes, won a show overall. I've done decent at the national level. It's something I'm better at than I was any other real sport. So, last question, Joe said, "Are you still motivated to compete again?" Yeah, I am. Of course. I love it. I love the process. I love being at the shows. It's a thrill. It's just the adrenaline rush of being out there with the other guys and giving it all you got. I have great memories of probably my best memory was 2013 Team U at the Masters. I feel like I nailed my posing at the judging finals. I came in, I could have been tighter in the glutes and hams, like I said, but I was able to retain a good amount of fullness. I was very happy with the way I looked and the way everything went on stage in that weekend. I was pretty psyched to get fifth place with that group of guys. It was a hell of a group of guys. So I am still motivated again. I probably will compete again. I can't make any promises. If I never compete again, that's okay too. I did a lot of shows. I did pretty well. I had great experiences, met a lot of excellent people. I have a lot amazing memories from all those years of competing. I still have the memories, pictures, some videos. So it's all good. If I compete again, that's great. I'd look forward to it. But if I don't, eh, I had a good run. I had a good run, and I've been working more with people. I've been doing a lot of posing lessons with people. I've been prepping people for shows, and I find it rewarding to be able to do that to help others avoid mistakes I made, help them do better, place better. Um, I was able to help one kid earn his pro card in Natural Federation back in November. I'm working with a woman now who's going to be trying to get her pro card in women's physique at Team U. So, I do get enjoyment out of that, satisfaction. I'd be able to help people, especially when I recognize that they have, better genetics than me, which is a lot of people do. But I'm able to help them maximize the genetics and avoid a lot of prep mistakes and posing mistakes and things like that, because I did learn a lot over the years, myself competing and watching others compete. And I've been helping people on and off get ready for shows now, informally and for a while, for years, and on a more formal basis now, coaching people. But that's all. This has been a little longer episode than I intended it to be. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope I answered that question correctly. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time on Ask Ron.